Giant Goofballs, a New York Giants podcast. Are you a goofball that loves Giants football? If so, sit back and relax as we talk about the team that both excites and frustrates us so much. And now, here are your goofball hosts, Drew and Rob.
Welcome, fellow goofballs, to Two Giant Goofballs, New York Giants podcast. I am Drew, joined as always by...
me. I'm Rob. Let's talk about those demon.
The demon? Time to exercise demons.
Ooh, demon.
Hallelujah. I don't know why, but I always think of the when I hear people do that, I think of that Ray Stevens song. What was that when the squirrel went berserk?
I think of Richard Simmons.
Richard Simmons.
You got exercise the demons. I'm an eagle. I'm a pony. I'm a unicorn.
That poor man. The son is still wrong there. I don't know. He disappeared for a while and all kinds of stuff, and he had pop up on social media say he was okay, and people said he was being kept captive and all his money and stuff. And now, and to make make worse, they're making a movie about him, and Pauly Shore is going to play him.
Tell me it's going to be like the Weird Al movie. It's
I
going to
don't
be
know. I think it's going to be an actual bioepic kind of thing.
With Pauly Shore is actually.
Well, Pauly Shore kind of looks like him.
He does. Doesn't mean he could act like
him. It's a bad casting job because of that. It's a bad casting job because it's Pauly Shore. When Pauly Shore was starring in the movie about you, your life was good, but not quite good enough.
Yeah, that's the best thing that came out of Pauly Shore was Biodome.
Exactly. Oh. No, what's the one too with Brendan Fraser as the key man?
Oh, that's Encino Man.
Encino Man, that was a good one. All right, anyway, that's enough Pauly Shore. I never thought we'd have a whole conversation of Pauly Shore.
As long as I talked about Pauly Shore in 25 years.
Exactly. And also the Goof Troop movie. But anyway.
Yes, that was probably his best movie.
Not forget that one.
That was probably his best movie.
Yeah, so today we're going to talk about all the breakdowns as far as the battles in camp here on the defense side. We went over on Monday for you guys all the offense. We're going to go over the defense today. And we're also going to give you guys an update on the OTAs. We've been slacking a little bit there because we had a lot of news to go over on Monday. We didn't want to give you a 3-hour show. So we got 6, 7, and 8 practices, 6, 7, and 8 to go over here. So just 2 more left here that'll be going on later this week, Thursday, Friday there for you guys. So we'll try to get you updates a little better on as far as that there. And then, of course, we had to go over a certain conversation that CJ Stroud had this week when he was asked on a interview, would you prefer the career of Aaron Rodgers or Eli Manning? We won't tell you the answer yet. That's coming later. Ooh, that's called the cliffhanger of the business, folks.
In our Giants podcast, so.
Not quite the same cliffhanger that Sylvester Stallone in that movie was.
Where he dropped the raccoon?
No,
that was Ace Ventura.
The one called Cliffhanger. Yeah. He was in a movie called Cliffhanger.
I know.
But spectacular. It was almost as good as Stop My Mom Will Shoot. Anyway.
Earth Girls Are Easy.
Oh wait, that was not Stallone. That was Jeff Goldblum, Damon Wayans, and Jim Carrey with Gina Davis. 1985.
God damn, dude.
I know. I've the weirdest knowledge in my head. I don't know why. So I could check the year to see if I'm actually right on that. But that's off the top of my head, obviously. We did not plan this, I promise.
No.
Let's get right to the defensive line before you start talking more about weird 80s movies and Pauly Shore here.
In the Army now. Sorry.
Oh, God. Son-in-law. Anyway. I think we're out of it. I think, right? Except for what's that they did on the Blair Witch Scary Movie. Was it him in Scary Movie when did the Blair Witch Project? Maybe. It was a spoof of that at one point. He had stuff dripping out of his nose like crazy.
It was probably Scary Movie 4 when it was the worst one.
Anyway, back to the Giants. Let's pop some Ritalin and let's get to it. Anyway, first matchup we got to talk about here is one that I think is probably, of all the matchups we're going to talk about here as far as battles for these different positions, you could make the claim that this is the most important one. Definitely on defense, but maybe on the team as a whole. And that's the defensive line. You look at the defensive line, and it's pretty obvious that you got Sexy Dexy obviously starting. You got Nacho is probably going to start by default, even though, let's be honest, Rakeem Nunez-Roches, give the full name here, did not exactly have a great year last year.
No, to say the least.
Yeah, but he's a veteran. He's a proven NFL player. He's a good guy all around. We talked before about that, how he's going to be somebody we expected to be a fan in the locker room. I'm sorry, I should have a big people in the locker room. And you didn't hear a dang thing bad about him. What's weird is you didn't hear anything good either. But I follow this.
That's probably because it's play.
No news is good news when it comes to any locker room issues, because when there's locker room issues, will come out eventually. Ask Wake Martindale. Anyway,
fair.
So obviously we're a 3-4 base. So you think there's 3 spots. You got 2 out of the 3 summed up here and already done here with those 2. You're going to have a third one. It's going to be a starter. Let's be honest here. You're going to have times that 4th guy is going to come out there as well. And there's 4 guys that are going for that 1.5 positions, I guess we can call it.
That's fair.
Because
some games is going to be 1.2
base,
games.
You go to certain formations, it will go to 4 up front linemen there. So the options we got here: DJ Davidson, Ryder Anderson, Jordan Phillips, and Jordan Riley. Not exactly a who's who of up and coming players here. It's kind of a little scary, guys. I honestly think this is the biggest issue on this entire team, actually. Because, again, one of these guys are going to start. And I've said it before, and I'll go on record to say it again. And if what we think is going to happen and Darren Waller does retire, we'll probably do a show on what should we do with the $10 million we're saving. What was it, 11 million change, whatever it was. But
yeah, so it's 11.8,
I think it was, something like that. Or whatever it was. Regardless, I'm still going to be, banging the table here for Calais Campbell. I know he's up there in age. I know he's a stopgap answer. But this list, I'm going to tell you up front, guys, it's not going to get anyone excited. Really not. Look at Rob's face. He does not look excited at all.
Nope.
Does not. So, first off, I'm going to go with the veteran first, the savvy veteran here. Jordan Phillips, who's literally the only vet in this whole group here. He's got 120 games, 62 starts in his career. He had 9.5 of his career 24 sacks in 2019. So he just had a career year that year. Because I know some people still think of him of that year. It was a Pro Bowl year. It was a very good year for him overall. Again, 9.5 sacks.
But that's also 5 years ago.
Yeah, that's the problem. And I think you'll probably see him likely on passing downs specifically. Because even though, again, I'm not trying to say he's a great, pass rusher, he's probably the best of this group. Because even, you take out that 1 year at that point, he still creates some pressure up the middle. And there's not a single one of those other guys on there that I think is that kind of role. So when they're in a 3-4 system, which is their base defense at that point, he's the guy you would want out there at this group. The question is, would you want him against the run?
Well, we've seen that a lot, and let's look at our track record against the run.
Let's not look at our track record. It's not very good.
Yeah.
We try to be an optimistic podcast.
A realist one, though.
Yeah, we are. We are. I think at least. I mean, even, some of the things we say in DJ is one of the obvious answers to that. We definitely say, hey, don't be a jerk to him, but he's not the answer.
Correct.
About as honest an answer as you get. So, next up, we got Ryder Anderson, who, in my opinion, at least works best in a 4-3 defense. I don't think he works as well in a 3-4. He's kind of a misfit to the system. And not just this system this year, but I think also in Wink's system as well. It's kind of like they're like, we kind of like this guy. Let's bring him in. But we don't have a place for him. We kind of like him.
Yeah, the partial downs.
Yeah, that's what I kind of feel like. So I think that he's a guy that when you go out of that 3-4 and you have a 4 down lineman like that, he's a guy you might bring off the bench into that position and put him in that edge position. Defensive end position, I should say. I think that's not a bad fit for him. And that's probably where you're going to use him. But having a guy that works better in a 4-3 and a 3-4 defense kind of limits what you can do with him to a certain degree.
100%. Are you going to look good for like maybe like a third to 2/5 of your downs when you go to the
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Then you got Jordan Riley, I should say you got, and DJ Davidson. Wrong Jordan I had. Both of them are run stoppers. 100%, that's what they are. They don't provide much in the pass rush. And let's be very frank, one of these guys has to really step it up in order for this defensive line to be successful. Again, you got 3 starting positions, 3.5, if you want to, like I said, include it when they happen to go to a 4-down, kind of defense. I do think you're to see that a little bit more in this defense than you did in the past with Wink.
Probably.
You look at that and go, okay, you got one stud who you can say is literally the best nose tackle in all of football, and I won't agree. I won't disagree with you at all. I think the numbers speak for themselves. The last 2 years, what he's done is speak for themselves. Then you got Nacho, who, again, veteran who kind of underperformed last year. And then you got a bunch of, I don't know. One of these two has to step it up because
I don't know is probably the best answer to that because it's.
Yeah, that's what it is. I mean, Leonard Williams, gone. That's a big loss right there. Obviously, he left halfway through the year, so we're kind of a little bit used to having him gone. But you have Ashawn Robinson gone. We're missing 2 of the 3 starters of this defensive line last year, guys, and we didn't replace them with anybody. Unless you want to count Jordan Phillips. That's not somebody I count because he's a bench piece on most defenses. That's what he is. I'm not trying to be mean about it.
He's probably going to be a bench piece for us as well.
Yeah. It's funny you say that because I actually disagree with that, which is fine. Listen, you and I always have to agree, and it's all opinion at this point. I think Jordan Phillips is going to actually probably get most of the playing time to start the season because he's the veteran. I think as the season progresses, that's when you have to hope that one of these young players really do step it up. Phillips is going to be 32 years old during the season, and he's still serviceable, but his best days are definitely behind him. I think it's pretty obvious. He's not going to all of a sudden get better at 31, 32 years old. That's not how this works.
No.
Not unless
you're on your way out.
Not unless he goes to the same pharmacy that Barry Bonds went to. Oops, did I say that?
Also, the guy wears a 10.5 hat.
When he wore a 6
his whole life.
He just shaved off his mustache. That's why it looks different. But I mean, this is like I said, this is a group that I still think we need to find an upgrade. I still think we need to scour and find somebody to add to this group here because none of these guys excite me. But I'm just got to be hopeful at this point that one of these guys is going to shock us. But I mean, look at where these guys came from. Ryder Anderson, undrafted. Jordan Riley, 7th round pick. DJ Davidson, 5th round pick. It's not fair to expect a lot of these guys.
No. And we've talked about this before plenty of times. You draft a guy past the 4th round. You're not looking for your starter. If you get it, like you're happy. It's fantastic. Not everyone's in this, in the league is going to be a 7th round pick. And it's going to be like the stud starter.
No. That's why Brock Purdy's such a big deal.
Yeah, exactly.
That doesn't happen.
It's very rare it happens. I mean,
that's why Victor Cruz was such a big deal. It doesn't happen. Yeah. That's why Tom Brady was a big deal. What's the other reason? Tom Brady was a big deal as well. He did have Giselle.
There's a few. There's a few reasons I was going to say.
There's 6 of them at least, but I mean, but this is why it's such a big deal when a big name comes out as a stud that was later, in the draft. It just doesn't happen very often, guys. So to expect one of these guys to step it up and become a really good starter, it's not fair to them. That's not what they are. It's not their fault the Giants failed to secure a 3rd starting lineman. That's where I look at this.
Yes.
And what I hate is
first.
we're all going to do it because this is what happens. We all do this once the season starts. We see them play like crap. We get pissed off. It's not their fault. This is on Joe Schoen. And he's got to fix it before the season starts. You cannot lose two guys. One, a stud in Leonard Williams. I'm sorry, I'm still a Leonard Williams fan. I know he's got detractors and people that don't like him. But it's not his fault. It's not his fault get him and overpaid for him. That's not his fault. Any of us would take the extra money. That's just life. And A'Shawn Robinson, who wasn't great, but he was a good starter. You know what I mean? Like, he's not in that, oh, great, we have A'Shawn Robinson. But you go, okay, good, we got A'Shawn Robinson. There's a difference.
Yeah.
He could take up the spot and not embarrass you. One of these guys is going to have to try to take up the spot, and they may embarrass us. I hate to say it, but it's possible. And there's only so much covering up that Dexter Lawrence can do. Cover a lot of space. He's a big man, but still.
He needs extra space for his dance moves, too.
I can't even do it. He's much more mobile than I am, which is kind of scary. He's got like 100 pounds on me, but it is what it is. But yeah, like I said, I think we just got to hope for the best with this group, guys. And we got to hope that we're not freaking out. I don't want to say that, but we're scolding Joe Schoen when he and Dable know something we don't know. Because that's possible as well. They might go, okay, we've been watching this guy for a year or two with the team. I think he can start. I think he's going to shock some people. And maybe he does. Maybe we're wrong. Maybe we're talking out of our butt.
That happens a lot.
It does, especially after Taco Bell. But I think the big thing is that if one of these guys was good, they would have started last year.
We also don't know what happened in the offseason, what kind of work they put in. So you're right. We might be surprised.
Might. You never know.
Might be surprised.
Might. That might be the president of the United States. Who knows?
President of El Mexico.
Got a new one. It's too long to wait. I'm not going to. Now, we got another group to talk about here. And this is one that I got to say, I don't hear people talking about this group enough as a battle. But it's going to be a battle. And there's 4 names in this battle, too. It's a decent, battle here overall.
It's a Royal Rumble.
The battle, well, not quite that. There's like 30 people. I don't know. I haven't watched wrestling in forever. But there's like 30. There's 4 people in this thing. Yeah, there's 4 people in this. And there's only one of them that I would sit there and say he's going to make it. That's it.
That's because the other 3 are going to go over the turnbuckle.
Exactly. Only one man can be last standing. It's the backup linebacker position there. And you got obviously Isaiah Simmons. You got Darrian Beavers.
Save the Beavers.
You got Matthew Adams. You got Carter Coughlin. And, obviously the starter is going to be Bobby Okereke, Micah McFadden. That's pretty obvious. 100%. Isaiah Simmons is the one guy you'd sit there and say, you know what, he's probably safe. He's definitely going to make the the roster there. But what's weird is they signed him so late in the offseason, guys. If he was a priority, that would have been done so much sooner. It really would have been.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't like it was a holdout over money. Like, there was no money. Nobody's going to pay him a lot of money. It just, to me, it seemed like the Giants weren't so sure he's going to fit in this new defense. And we don't know because we don't know what the new defense is going to look like. But that's what I look at. And he does pair well with Micah McFadden. He does mask some of the deficiencies that McFadden has on passing downs, and he works well with him for that reason there. But the main issue is how are they going to fit him into this new defense? He's essentially 100% positionless. This has been the issue basically his entire career. Remember, guys, when he was drafted, he's a special player. Doesn't matter. You can't figure out where to put him. Just put him somewhere. He'll excel. He's been put a lot of places on 2 different teams now. Has not excelled. Giant fans were ecstatic when we traded for him. And don't get me wrong, I still think it was a good trade. But Rob and I were here like, really? Like, you guys think this guy's going to be an all-pro? Like, he has done crap in Arizona. Why would you think that?
Yeah.
Like, people are talking like we just went ahead and, got the greatest player on the defensive side of the ball. It's like we got TJ Watt or something here. Like, we got a guy who failed in Arizona. Let's be honest, if he failed. And he couldn't even get a starting job last year. Micah McFadden beat him out for a starting job. Micah McFadden, we like him. We like the way he progressed last year. When you're losing the job to Micah McFadden, though, guys, that's not a good sign. And the Giants don't know how to even put it. They put him as a linebacker / safety on the roster right now. They don't know where to put him. They're going to put him somewhere. We're calling him a linebacker because that's the position he plays mostly. But it's like, that's, to me, as much as he's the closest thing to a sure thing in this group. Can we guarantee that?
I mean, no, because like we said, he let McFadden pass him by when he should have been a stud. Like, not to get too far into advance, like he could let that happen to another player that we're going to talk about fairly soon.
He's too weak to be a linebacker. He's too slow to be a defensive back.
Correct. He's either got to, get the need for speed or start, hitting the weight.
I got the need.
The need for speed. Whoosh.
There's drug programs that help you, Rob, when you have these issues. There's no shame.
1-800 what?
This is a safe place.
Hey, we don't got something out there.
So you got Simmons there. You got Darrian Beavers, who we all know looked great in the 2022 preseason before he tore his ACL. Spent most of last year, obviously, the practice squad, though. He's a full year now recovered from that surgery, though. So we've talked about it before, but the first year, you're not quite yourself. Some guys are. Don't get me wrong. Like, remember Adrian Peterson came back from almost 2,000 yards. I mean, but that's not normal. Nothing Adrian Peterson does is normal. Mentally, physically.
Off the field, on the field.
Yeah, child racing wise. I mean, nothing this is normal. But you just gave me that look like you did not bring that up. I did.
I had a few comments, but I was going to keep them to myself.
But now that he's a year removed, can he be that guy again like he was prior to the surgery? Where he looks really, really good. And you go, you know what? Maybe he bypasses, Isaiah Simmons for that, third linebacker spot at that point. We don't know. Maybe he proves he can do something against special teams. And you go to the guys we talked about in a minute. Go, maybe we don't need you after all. Like, there's these options. Darrian Beaver is really the wild card in this whole thing and how he plays. Then you got Matthew Adams and Carter Coughlin, who we're going to kind of group together here because, let's be honest, it's the same player. Very good on special teams. Do not provide much on defense, if anything at all. We talked about it. Carter Coughlin hasn't seen the defensive side of the ball in years.
Yeah, we're surprised we kept him last year.
I know. I'm shocked we re-signed him this year. Even I'm just very confused overall because he was on social media talking about goodbye to the Giants and stuff, and then they bring him back. So, like I said, Beavers really is the whole wild card in this whole thing. If he's healthy and he looks as good as he did that rookie year before he got hurt, if there was a whole wrench in this depth chart,
it really does.
Yeah, like I said, he could bypass Simmons for that third spot. He could be special teams, and you go up. Maybe we don't keep Adams and Coughlin. Maybe we keep Adams because he's better on a little bit better on special teams, and also will play at least a little bit of defense, even though he doesn't play it very well. There's these options here, and let's say maybe even you look at it and go, if Simmons is in a fit for this defense, you're going to try to force feed him to this defense. And maybe Beavers is that third guy, and you keep Adams and Coughlin. There's so many options with this whole thing. Like, none of these guys are safe.
No,
this is like Survivor here.
Survivor.
Yes.
Hey, listen. Maybe Beavers should bring back
Darrian Beavers mentioned. Yes, sir. I haven't lost hope in Beavers. We're still hoping.
Listen, I'm bringing back the hashtag Save the Beavs.
Of course, John comes in with the he said Beaver. We have the most mature audience.
The worst part is that's a cat.
Let's say a cat with a birthday cake on him on the top. What's going on at the top of the cat? I'm very confused. But yeah, I mean, like I said, anything can happen with this group. I think it's interesting to watch. It can be interesting to see what happens. I think that this is a group that, again, you don't hear talk about it. This is going to be one to watch. This is going to be one to keep an eye on, specifically when the defensive, teams come out there on special teams.
Yeah.
Points out wrong Beaver, John. If it helps, Dash, he's a fan of both Beavers, so both Beaver and Beavers.
Yeah. Ooh.
And probably Beavers and Beavers.
Like Justin Bieber?
No, not Bieber. No. Or Beepers. He's not a fan of Beepers. Drug dealers and doctors. I remember that as a kid when that beepers were out. It was like, nobody needs a beeper unless you're a drug dealer or a doctor. I'm like, they must have some use besides that. Like, this seems a weird thing.
Yeah.
Imagine that. Like, sir, you have a beeper. Are you a doctor? No. Oh, you steal drugs then? No. Anyway, let's get into the next battle we got here. And this is one that I'm going to tell you guys point blank. I don't see this one being talked about much either. Maybe it's my negativity on the draft pick. I'm going to say it like that because it may very well be. Maybe it's just that. But I feel like this is going to be a battle that could potentially happen if there's a little slip by a third-round draft pick of ours. And that's talking about the slot corner with Andrew Phillips and Darnay Holmes. Because, Rob and I, we talked about it during the draft itself there. We weren't necessarily too big a fan of Andrew Phillips as a draft pick. Got all the physical tools, needs some work. And listen, Jerome Henderson, if anybody's going to put the work in and fix somebody, it's Jerome Henderson. And, you got to look at, that's going to take time. You don't develop and fix people overnight. So are you going to really be able to start Andrew Phillips? Is he going to be good enough to start right off the bat? When he's got Darnay Holmes, who, let's be very frank, is not the best player in the world, but he's scrappy. If he was on a Scooby show, he'd be Scrappy Doo.
He's all over the place.
Because how many years have we gone? How is Darnay Holmes still on the roster? But he somehow still ends up on there. How is Darnay Holmes still playing? Yet you still see him on the field somehow. He's just good enough to keep his job.
Yeah.
He's what I strive to do at work. That's where he's at. But it's how many years have they tried to replace him as a slot corner? Cordell Flott was supposed to replace him, we kept on drafting guys that are supposed to going to replace him. Robinson was supposed to replace him.
Yep. Yeah,
Robinson's replaced Sterling Shepard better than he's replaced anybody else based on the injury history. But
yeah, womp womp womp.
But I mean, we kept on trying to draft guys to replace him, and he's beaten all those guys out. And he's the guy left standing. He's the guy that keeps taking that slot position. So are we really thinking that Andrew Phillips is going to do it? When, again, these other guys were supposed to do it. When he's coming in as a project. When I don't know why I'm doing that with my hand motion, but I am.
Shows how serious you are. ...
Yeah. Shoot the politician thing. Or but yeah, it's I just think that I don't think it's a crazy thing to sit there and say, if Andrew Phillips falters in any way, shape, or form in camp, in the preseason, that he's going to have people breathing down his neck for that spot. And Darnay Holmes is just the first guy that comes to mind because he's got that kind of scrappy ability. Now, I am not advocating Darnay Holmes. Let me be very careful on how we word this. I am not advocating Darnay Holmes. We advocated 2 years ago to get rid of Darnay Holmes when we first started the show. And he's still around. We still around. As John says, I'm a negative Nelly. Well, it's getting hot in her, and it's not a negative Nelly. It's a Debbie Downer. It's a Debbie Downer. But like I said, you got to look at that history. It's like when people talk about this in life in general and say those who don't learn from history are doomed to repeat it. Football is one of those things that holds very much true. Very much true. You can look at history, recent history at least. You don't go back to the leather helmet days and go, oh well, based on this. But like you can look up the last couple of years, see things that happened, and go, okay, based on this makes sense.
Yeah,
and that's where I'm at with this.
I mean, we're talking about just about the play now, but I mean, you're 100% right. You're like it goes from everything: the play calling, how you pay a player. Like it's all over. So history will repeat itself. And
yeah.
So I guess you're thinking
us we keep on trying to replace Darnay Holmes and somehow he's still around.
I mean, we could be pleasantly surprised, hopefully.
Listen, we talked about this before, but you and I know both weren't exactly very high on Banks. We didn't hate him. We just thought it was an early pick for him. We thought it was a second round grade. You know, we were wrong on him. He played very well last year, at least as far as rookie, we were wrong on him. I'll be very glad to be wrong again. I have no qualms about going, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, and saying I was wrong. As long as I'm right more than I'm wrong, we're doing good. Nobody's right all the time, except my wife. She's always right.
I mean, you have to say that.
Yeah, you're her cousin. You can say whatever you want. Okay. But yeah, like you have to prepare for these scenarios. Though I feel like people don't always do that. It's like you can't just draft a player and be like, oh, position solved.
It doesn't work like that.
Justin, I wish it did. If it worked that way, our offensive line would be amazing.
Be the best in the NFL.
Seriously,
20 years running.
2 top 10 starters at tackle, a second round at center, a third round at guard. Like we'd be amazing offensive line. It doesn't work that way, guys. You got a guy with athletic traits that's a little bit of a project in the third round. To expect him to just ball out in the beginning, it's a little ridiculous. It's not fair to him. No. And I got to say it that way. It's not fair to him. He may develop into a good starter. That's not crazy to say. But he's not there to start. Unless Jerome Henderson really puts in that kind of work with this guy. Like, listen, don't tell the NFLPA. Like,
yeah.
We're going to do 12-hour shifts the next couple of months here to get you ready. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know what they do at that point there. Or like, Jerome Henderson talks to somebody who was coaching him on the side or something. Like, he's a project. Ain't nothing wrong with that. Not everybody comes in ready to ball out. No. But you can't expect that of a project to come in and ball out. That's where he's at. So, we got Raph in the building here too. What's up,
bud?
It's him and Dash to do a little chit chatting too as well. And then John says she's hot. Who's hot? Are we talking about Giselle? Is that what?
No,
I missed that one.
No, but you being Debbie Downer.
Oh,
Debbie Downer.
Yeah. Oh, he's saying the Debbie Downer lady was hot.
Yeah.
That's what's her name from SNL. I forget who that is.
Yeah, you had it right. That's what's her face.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
What's her name? One that used to. Is it Amy Poehler? Is that her?
I forget her name, but she always reminded me of the one that was in New Kids in the Hall.
Oh God, that was a crazy show.
Yeah.
Dave Foley and all.
Those Canadians.
What's it all about? I'm about to look it up now because I think it was SNL. Debbie Downer at that point there. Rachel Dratch, it says, is her name. Amy Poehler is somebody else I'm thinking of. Rachel Dratch. That's her name.
Steven. Right. I thought you said Stavin.
All right. Let's get to the next one here. So we have another corner spot to talk about there. We got to talk about our more traditional outside corner spot there, because there's a spot that the Giants want to tell you is not up for grabs, but I highly doubt that there's not
Every
extra
spot will be
eyes
up
on
for
this group
draft.
here. And that's the CB2 spot here. Deontay Banks is clearly going to be CB1. CB2 as of right now, they say is Cordell Flott. I know I've come on the show before and said Nick McLeod is the better player. He should be the starter, personally. You still got Trey Hawkins lurking in the background, like Dracula. To me, again, Cordell Flott's the guy to beat out. Like, he's got the spot. He's going to give him every opportunity to do it. And again, I'm going to say it again, like I've said plenty of times in the show, this regime is out to prove their draft picks right. I don't like that. Put the best guy up. I don't give a damn who drafted him. I don't care who signed him. Put the best guy up there.
100%.
You wouldn't play Kenny Galladay because he sucked. But you're going to put your draft picks up that suck. That's a double standard. And you lose credibility when you do that. Not that Cordell Flott sucks. He's just not starter quality from everything I've seen so far. Not that Nick McLeod is that great either. It's just that's the best option we got on the roster currently. Unless we sign somebody else with that Darren Waller money that might be coming our way soon. There's been talks that people keep there's rumors coming around about that, but I don't know. I don't see that. I think the guys in the roster are going to be CB2. I think D-line really is a spot to spend it. So again, you got Cordell Flott being the guy to beat. Nick McLeod, probably the better of the two, at least how he's played the last couple of years there. And I really think the fact that he's a holdover from the Dave Gettleman eras. I know I should have said a curse word. Sorry. Can you put that out? I really think that's part of what it is. But Trey Hawkins can't be ignored in this, guys.
No, not at all. I mean, he lit up the camp last year.
Yes.
He was a talk of not just the tri-state area, but the NFL.
Yeah, I mean, there was guys like Peter King was going to camp talking about him and all. Like the NFL Network came to camp and talked about him. Like he was looking like a freaking stud coming into the season and quickly turned into a dud.
Big time.
It didn't look good at all once the season actually started. He lost it pretty quickly. And the hype hasn't been there this year on him at all. I should say that as well. It has not been there.
Which could be a good thing.
Yeah, no, I think that's a very good thing because you don't get his hopes up. But, the fact that they were so quick to give him the job last year means that I don't think it's out of the crazy statements to say that if Flott has a little bit of a bad start in camp or in the preseason, then I'll go, maybe we should look at Hawkins again.
Yeah.
He is a draft pick after all. So
they all love that guy.
He loves his picks. He's always right. Just ask him. I'm like painting Joe Shane as an egomaniac now. I don't know if he actually is. It's just like I said, the writing's on the wall. Between Evan Neal, between not getting a defensive lineman so you can start one of your guys you drafted. All these things, they're all there. They all add up. You're trying to shove your draft picks onto the field. It's almost like he's trying to solidify his job and he might be in trouble. Oops, did I say that out loud?
Wait a minute.
No, that couldn't be it. But, yeah, I mean, again, I think Flott will start, and I think he'll start the season. I think you're not going to necessarily see a long leash, though, for him. I really don't think that. Because I don't think he's going to do anything that's going to set him that far apart. You got a couple weeks to start here against rookie quarterbacks, keep in mind, too, as well. We got the Vikings week 1, so either J.J. McCarthy is going to be there as the rookie, or Sam Darnold, who plays like a rookie.
Probably worse than most rookies.
Yeah. Then week 2, you got Jaden Daniels, who we got high hopes for based on our own personal feelings on him. But I don't think he's going to be good in week 2.
Yes, I was about to say, it's not going to be fair to him.
Yeah. If anything, by like week 6 or 7, maybe then he'll probably start turning around at that point and get everything rolling.
Turn around
every now and then. But so if Cordell Flott looks bad against those two, yeah, that's could be time to sit on that bench. Could be time. So we'll see how things go. And again, I hate when I give like a negative opinion on a player, so I feel like I do come off negative. It's like I'm not trying to be negative. I'm just trying to be realistic. I just don't see it. I don't see the love for Flott.
Yeah.
I don't.
Oh, you're flat on your love for Flott.
Am I wrong? If you see this guy really progress and you go, this guy should start. Yeah. So I'm saying there's a couple of holes in this defense, and this is one of them. This is definitely one of them. So let's talk about a position that we're a little stronger at, and that's safety. Because we know who's going to start, obviously. Tyler Nubin, the rookie who we have extremely high hopes for.
Yeah.
And, of course, Pinnock, who, again, had his career year last year, and we'll see if he can continue to improve, and now his second year starting full-time there. Past that, you got a little bit of question marks there. And we talked about the safety episode. We got a little bit in this conversation here, but it's like, who's going to be that third safety spot? Is it going to be Dean Belton, who's been on the league, been in the league a couple of years now with us? Jalen Mills, the converted corner, who's, feels like he's been playing since the dawn of time. And Javarius Owens, who was, the rookie last year, going to his second season here. It's really an intriguing group that has just a whole lot of possibilities there. Like, I don't know which way it's going to happen. I can guess, and I'll have no problem doing that. But I can't sound confident what's going to happen with this group. I think that would definitely be a little crazy. I mean, Dayton Belton's been a playmaker whenever he's on the field, but he hasn't been on the field very much. He hasn't exactly been the best against the run. He's had some issues with angles and tackling. There's definitely some issues there. But he's been a ball hawk in the times he's been there. Both interception-wise and, fumble-wise. If you look at his, turnover per down, you know what I mean? Like, how many turnovers he has and how many downs he's actually been on the field on defense. That ratio has got to be insanely high.
Oh, it has to be. But
has to
exactly. But exactly like
he's got a couple of sacks as well. He's helped as far as, pass rush there, just limited play. Again, he makes those big plays. But he's got some issues.
Yeah, I mean, there's issues. Like you said, you summed it perfect. Like his sample size of what you see of them is fantastic. The ratio is probably one of the best. It's got to be top. Yeah. I feel like Trump. It's got to be good. It's definitely good. It's definitely top. It's got to be good. But there's a reason why he's not a starter, because that sample size we see is just it. It's a small sample size, and we don't see. You can't see what he's doing in the practice. Like, is he the guy that comes up that is in the middle of practice as nothing, but as soon as he hits the field, like he's a stud? Like, I don't think that's how that works.
Yeah, I think they'd play him a lot more if they thought that.
Yeah.
So, but that's why when they do play him, you notice they play him on passing downs much more often, because he has that big play capabilities. And then you don't worry about him and the issues with him trying to stop the run. But if you think about it, when you put a third safety into the system, a lot of times it's against the pass. You're like, well, this is an obvious running down. Let's get our three safeties out.
Yeah. That's like the running back just, running for quite a few yards before the safety can get to him.
Yeah. That'll work out well.
Yeah.
So because I think that plays into his hands, I think he's got a decent spot there, takes a shot at the spot there. I mean, you got Jalen Mills after that, who, again, he's in his 30s. He's converted over to safety now to try to extend his career, as many corners have done over the years. By the way, rumor is James Bradbury might be doing that with the Eagles this year.
Oh.
Yeah, he's been practicing at safety in practice. Good luck. They're paying him for the next 4 years still. Anyway.
He's got to do something.
Yeah, so, but, you got him now, and I think he's more of a nickel dime kind of guy. You could bring him out more as that extra slot / safety kind of role there in obvious passing downs. I don't know if he's a guy you want to put out there as a third safety on a regular basis, because as much as Dean Belton has issues against the run, Jalen Mills is still the size of a corner. He just doesn't have the speed he used to have anymore. Is that the guy you really want there to try to stop a running back if they do go ahead and run? You can guess when things are run plays and pass plays, but you're not always right on that. No one is. Except John Madden. He was good at that. In between turkey legs.
Double fisting him.
So again, a good player to have. He's going to be a good mentor and veteran, I think, for this group overall, because he's the only older guy in this thing as far as this safety and corner group. The only DB, I think, over the age of 30. And I think by far he's the oldest one. Like, I think everybody else is like 25 at the latest, like Darnay Holmes might be the second oldest one in this group.
Was that Holmes? Is he 26?
I think that's what he said he was. I have to look up his exact age now. But yeah, I mean, yeah, he's 25 years old. He turns 26 at the end of the month. So, again, you got a guy who's 5-6 years older than everybody else there. I think there's a role for him because of that. But you can't force feed that role. If he's not the guy and he's not playing well enough, you don't go, well, we need someone who's got some experience. Like that's like the worst possible thing ever. We kept him because he's old. It's like you don't hear that.
He smells like mothballs.
Yeah, like he knows the value of a Werther's original.
Yeah. He brings those chocolate mints.
Yes.
That you grab and they used to bring it into the locker room.
We have everybody around the campfire. He regales us stories of the original Walkman radio he had as a child. I would just say, like, that's not why you keep somebody, like. But then you got Javarius Owens, who got some hype, not nearly as much hype as Trey Hawkins got, in the offseason. But it certainly didn't translate to the regular season. We spent most of his time on the practice squad. And we don't know, can he make that step this year? Like, did he learn something? Did he get better? Is this the year he's going to make that? Or should we just keep the expectations low because he's a 7th round pick? That's the reasonable thing to me to do, is go, he's a 7th round pick. He probably won't pan out. If he does, great, but I can't plan on that.
Unless he's Trey Hawkins.
Trey Hawkins is a 6th round pick, and he hasn't panned out so far either.
Yeah.
Again, those guys, you don't usually. It's not a knock on them. That's what the expectation should be. So the expectation for Javarius Owens should be practice squad again. That's a reasonable expectation. And if he happens to make the roster and beat out Mills, I don't think he'll beat out Belton. I think this really comes down to Mills or Owens. If he beats out Mills, then great. You beat out a solid veteran that's had a long career in this league. Unless you beat him specifically because Mills looks older and slow down, because it's always a risk at once you hit over 30 at that point, you do lose some speed. But he's like 31. It's not like he's like, I had to look up his exact age, but I think he's like 31. Yeah. It's not like he's 37. He's not that old. Not like Rob.
Still old. True. How's your pet dinosaur doing?
Oh, how? I didn't even realize you remember Steggy the Stegosaurus.
So I was bringing the plates to dinner.
Yes, exactly. But yeah, so again, Belton's going to be there. That's definitely there. And I think Mills probably does get in a spot, and I think Owens is probably, relegated to the practice squad. But things can change with that, guys. Like a drop of a hat. Whether it's injury, whether it's Mills slowing down a little bit, whether it's Owens looking like he's gotten a lot better in the past year, things can change. So I would say keep an eye on those two more specifically. And let's see how they progress as this offseason goes there. So, all right, guys, let's pay the bills real quick here. And then we're going to get into update on the OTAs and give you guys the answer on who C.J. Stroud picked, Aaron Rodgers or Eli Manning for their better of two careers.
Just in case if you're a Green Bay Packers fan out there or a Jets fan, this is a New York Giants podcast.
Listen, I would just play it either way because it still involves, the second best Giant to ever play. Because I'm calling him that, even though I know we'll get into that comment a little bit. Let's pay.
Yeah, I was about to say, let's go.
We'll get into that.
Enjoying the show? Looking for more goofball action? Consider a membership at buymeacoffee.com/2giantgoofballs. Memberships start at just $5 and give you additional goofball access. One-time support payments also available starting at just $3. buymeacoffee.com/2giantgoofballs.
All righty. So John Anderson says, don't go chasing waterfalls. Please stick to the rivers and the lakes that you're used to. I know that you're going to have it your way or nothing at all, but I think you're moving too fast. Oof. There you go. Oof. The immortal words of TLC. TLC. The little RIP to Lisa Left Eye Lopez.
Yes, yeah.
As we got another Giants content creator, it's a New York content creator, but they do got a lot of Giants there. Big Blue in the Bronx. Guys, if you haven't yet, we've had 3 content creators come in here. All good guys. All guys we got respect for.
Great
if
shows.
you haven't already, hit like and subscribe on them. As much as we want you to hit like and subscribe on us as well, which we do if you haven't already, by the way.
Yeah, ring the
Big
bell.
Blue in the Bronx right here, as I'm pointing to them on the screen if you're watching the video. They're like, I think you're like only a little bit away from 2,000 subscribers. So let's try to help them out a little bit, guys, if you haven't already.
Yeah.
You know, you got Dash, of course. We had him earlier. I talked about him earlier as well. Big Dash knows, again, another great content creator. He does specific Giant stuff there. If you guys watch on a regular basis, El Capitan, you know Raph. He's been on the show before. Last year we played the Raiders. So again, guys, you got 3 great content creators here that have been in the chat here. Go ahead and, like I said, hit that subscribe on them as well so that you get even more stuff from them. All good stuff. As John says, where do I click dislike and unsubscribe? You know, there actually is a dislike on YouTube, John. There actually is. I do see
that's cold.
It really is. Like, I can't imagine ever hitting the dislike button on the video. Like, I just would stop. That's like, you got to really get ticked off at the video for some reason to do it. And I feel like, and we don't get it very often. When I do it, I'm kind of like, well, at least you had a reaction. Like, you didn't dislike the show, probably. You just go away from it. You just dislike the opinion we had, but whatever. You know,
that works.
That's fair enough. Not everybody's gonna agree with us. Rob and I disagree with each other a little bit ago. It's fine. That's what makes sports fun, is to have these kind of conversations. So, all right, let's get into the Giants.
It's time for the news.
All righty, so we got to give you guys an OTA update here because we've been slacking on that a little bit. Again, we got 3 to go over with you guys because of the fact that we got a little busy with all the news on Monday between the Darren Waller rumors, talking about his new cap number, you know, talking about Shep getting money. I was like Shep. I mean, wow, I said Shep. Talking about Darius Slayton getting money and coming back to camp. We had the passing of Larry Allen, the big contract extension. You know,
auto-tunes.
So yeah, we had a lot of stuff. We had auto-tunes. We've had a lot of auto-tune rants lately.
Yeah.
On Darren Waller. He just really needs to stop singing. Whoever told him he can sing deserves to be shot. And I don't mean that figuratively, of course. So I mean it figuratively. Don't actually shoot me. We do not condone that kind of violence. But seriously, whoever told him he could sing, how they did it with a straight face, I don't know. I really don't. Like, that's like someone walking up to me at 6'7" saying, "You know how short you are."
Do you mind grabbing that from underneath the pantry?
By the way, I found out, and again, I'm old, so I learned all my music stuff from TikTok. It's bad, but I do. Apparently, there's a song going around about this girl singing about how she needs a man who's over 6 foot tall working in finance. Apparently, that's a thing now, and so I saw a stat apparently where it was like, if you go, there's a guy in TikTok. He's like, oh, if you're looking for a guy who makes over $80,000 who's over 6 foot tall. And he did the math on it. It's like a 1.1% chance of finding that. So what did I do? I, of course, sent that right to my wife and told her how lucky she is.
I was going to say.
I'm like, see, 6'7" and played over 80. I'm like, I gotta be like a 0.1% at that point to find. Like,
you're a unicorn. Darren Waller should have been.
Except the horn's in the wrong spot. Oh, all righty. Let's get into an OTA talk here because, again, we got 3 OTAs to go over with you guys. We got a lot to give you guys in a short amount of time here. And you guys know our theories in OTAs. You take everything with a grain of salt. This stuff is written, talked about by the Giants. It is stuff that tells you who did good but doesn't tell you who did bad. So, but when
it's a Happy Meal.
When a name pops up over and over and over again during these OTAs, that's when you know something's going on. That's probably the main reason why I talk about it. So Friday's practice, talk about it real quick here. OTA 6 here. 7-on-7 drills. They had a lot of those, but the defense definitely looked the stronger half of the team there. Cordell Flott and Jalen Mills, we talked about a moment ago, both had some pretty good pass breakups. Theo Johnson, who just seems to be talked about every single practice, had some nice catches near the sideline, was able to barely keep his feet inbound, including one for a touchdown. Rookies Tyler Nubin and Andrew Phillips were able to break up some passes along with Jason Pinnock. Deontay. I keep saying Dante. Deontay. He's not an Inferno. He's a corner. He went ahead and had the only INT of the day as Kelsey gives the down. We started a trend now. Watch, everybody's gonna hit the unlike because I said that. I should have said that.
What did you start?
It's okay. We're getting a reaction. That's all that matters. Brian Burns, Aziz Ojolari, Kayvon Thibodeau, Boogie Basham, and Dexter Lawrence all got in the backfield during practice. Again, let me reiterate, when things happen good, they mention it. When things happen bad, they don't. Anytime something good happens for the Giants, when you're playing against the Giants, and you are the Giants, that means something bad happened for somebody else. So if all these guys got in the backfield, what does that tell you? The offensive line did not have a good day. That's the bigger takeaway I have for that, because I'm more worried about the Giants offensive line than I'm about the pass rush. I'm not worried about the pass rush. We got some dogs in there between Burns and Tibbs and Dexter Lawrence there. But that offensive line, listen, that's gotta survive this year and do well. Dexter Lawrence also had a couple of passes batted down at the line there as well. Slayton and Bryce Ford Wheaton had a touchdown as well. Jalen Hyatt had probably the most amazing catch that I've seen in a long time here, as John also says. Just like shouldn't even said that. Yeah. If you notice on the picture here, on the right corner there, that was the catch. I mean, it was an amazing catch, guys. Really, just watch the video. I wish I could play the whole video, but with my luck, YouTube would take us down and dislike us for that.
More dislikes.
Like I said, just take a look. It's a really amazing play he made there. Monday's practice here was practice number 7. Special team coordinator Michael Gabriel spent a lot of time teaching the kickoff team, both the cover and return groups there, about the new rules. That's going to be an important thing. We'll probably do an episode specifically on that right before the season starts to give you guys a refresher. I know we went over that before for you guys, but this is going to be so new and so different that we'll probably have a refresher on that later on. Due to running back coach Joel Thomas has been working a lot with the group there about pass catching. Now remember, Alvin Kamara has been working with this guy for years, and he's widely thought of as one of the best pass catching, if not the best pass catching running backs in all of the NFL. So it's interesting to see him really pushing that. It makes you wonder if you're going to see a lot more of that in this offense, and he's helping really beef that up, because as much as we like Saquon, again, I'm not trying. I feel bad when I talk about him bad now, but it's like they're kicking on the way out still. But he didn't have the best hands. Once he got the ball and it got to open field, he was amazing. He knew what to do. It was basically, be a running back at that point, But his hands weren't the best. He definitely had a little more drops than you wanted at that point, to put it nicely. This is something they definitely look to try to integrate into this offense a little better there. The linebackers team as a whole just looked great in coverage in practice, they said. Deonte Banks broke up a nice pass intended for Wan'Dale Robinson. Trey Hawkins got an INT. Cordell Flott knocked the ball away and a throw to Jalen Hyatt, which is always impressive. Jalen Hyatt runs like a freaking cheetah. If you can keep up with him, yeah, you're doing pretty good. Brian Burns also was able to get into the backfield. Tyler Newman and Jalen Mills were actually blitzing during practice, which is kind of interesting. We talked about during this defense here a lot. They're expecting a lot more of the natural pass rushers to be the pass rushers. So when I read something like that, it makes me wonder, are they doing that just so it doesn't look completely foreign when the season starts? Or are they doing that because they actually want to integrate that to this offense, as this defense after all? That's something to keep an eye on to see what they plan on doing, because we have no clue what to expect of this defense. I don't care what it says. We have no clue what to do. Shane Bowen did not control that defense. Mike Vrabel did.
Correct.
So we don't know what to expect there. I will say Vrabel and Dable, sounds like a rhyming thing there. Vrabel and Dable. They have a relationship. So I don't think, unless Vrabel said raving things about Bowen, he's on that. He didn't get the job probably. So the fact that he is, I'm confident in him. I'm just saying I don't think we know what we're going to get yet. Let's see here. Wan'Dale Robinson caught a few slants there. That's his bread and butter. I think if anything, we need to teach him not to do slants and get everything else going at that point. Slants just seem to come naturally to him. Probably more natural.
Verticals.
Yeah, like probably the most natural route for him all of a sudden. He just does it very well. Darius Slayton was targeted pretty often. Sean Corbin also caught a few balls. Haven't heard much of him in practice. That's good to hear. Theo Johnson, again, I told you, every single practice he gets mentioned. Got a nice catch on a pass by Drew Lock. Yesterday's practice, Tuesday, practice number 8. The offense finally seemed to win a practice. Daniel Jones had 4 straight completions, including a pass to Isaiah Hodgins, but he hit him in stride for over 40 yards. Again, the fields aren't exactly marked that great, so you don't know the exact length, but it was over 40 yards. And that's another one the Giants they were showing in slow-mo like crazy on Twitter and everything like that.
I was going to say, that blew up Twitter.
Yeah. Actually, I think that was in the picture we made as well, too. Yep, there it is there in the middle. There it is in the middle. I'm using my mouse to show it, even if you guys can't see it. I don't know why. I need a telestrator. I need a telestrator, guys.
It's going to go with laser pointers.
He just flung it on back there, so it was a really nice throw there. Also had Theo Johnson and Bryce Ford Wheaton caught multiple passes. We had a couple mentions of Bryce Ford Wheaton. Interesting. Ayer Asante, who's, again, we got this, the undrafted rookie free agent, made a nice catch in the middle of the field. They're saying he's actually got some potential as a slot receiver. I think more and more they're going to end up putting him on the practice squad. They really seem to like him, I wouldn't say a lot, but they like his potential to potentially be a depth piece later on. Wide receiver
potential have potential.
Yeah, listen. I'm not gonna. I feel like so many people are like, oh, he's got some great potential. Like, no, he's an undrafted guy. Like, what are you really expecting from this guy? If he becomes a bottom end receiver in this league at any point, then that's a win.
Yeah, he definitely will.
It's not me trying to be negative. It's me trying to keep realistic expectations for these guys. Wide receiver Dennis Houston got a nice grab from quarterback Nathan Rourke. The Giants also had some visitors at practice. Yankees GM Brian Cashman and senior advisor Omar Minaya, which, Rob, I know you're a huge Met fan. I was unaware that Omar Minaya was even with the Yankees now.
Oh, yeah.
I was unaware of this. That's how little I watch baseball anymore.
I am a terrible baseball fan these days.
I'm sorry. I can't sit there and watch it when the pitchers spend half the time scratching themselves and the batters spend half the time adjusting their gloves.
They just did it a couple seasons ago. There's a pitch count.
They lost me years before they did that. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
they spent more time taking steroids than actually playing baseball.
Well, they got rid of that too. It's all about the intensity of what this pitch is going to be thrown. You don't know what's going to happen.
So yeah, we had, again, also had those two there from the Yankees. Also had Knicks executive VP and also senior basketball advisor William Wesley there as well. So interesting if you guys are Yankee fans and Knicks fans and Giant fans. It's like a wet dream for you there in practice, you know?
Sound like Jay.
But yeah, that's where they're at there. So they said there was a nice lunch they all had together and stuff like that. They were kind of comparing notes on things they do to build teams and stuff like that. Listen, love them or hate them. And you can be either way. Just because you're a Giant fan doesn't mean you have to be a Yankee fan or a Met fan. Just because you're a Giant fan doesn't mean you have to be a Knicks fan or a Net fan. Like, you can be whoever you want to be a fan of, guys. Like, I don't know. I can't speak for Rob and myself. I don't hate any New York teams really. Because I have friends that are enough of fans of them that I'll root for anybody to win it from New York at that point. I have my favorites, of course. I'll keep that one to myself there at that point, even though I blew Rob's spot up. I call it a Met fan.
I mean, I've worn Mets hats during the podcast.
You have. I'll be honest, my baseball team is not a New York area team, so it is what it is. That's why I leave that part out of it. But I grew up in
D-bags.
What?
See, like the Arizona D-bags.
That's not okay. I'll give it up. I'm a Braves fan. I grew up going down to Atlanta all summer long. My family there got me into it. I remember going to Atlanta Fulton County Stadium as a kid. So it is what it is. Yankee fans can't hate me. They stole 2 rings from me. So, but
I was a Yankee fan during this World Series.
and I grew up a Net fan because, again, Jersey. Even though they moved to Brooklyn, they were Jersey for how many years? So, all right. Let's get into our last topic here for the day, guys.
Ooh, it's going to be a little saucy.
You know what? I think this is a topic that might tick off some Green Bay Packer fans, maybe some Jet fans. I don't know how much love they have for this guy yet, but we talked about it a little bit there in the beginning of the show here. So C.J. Stroud was interviewed, and he was asked, whose career would you rather have, Aaron Rodgers or Eli Manning? He gave the answer of Eli Manning, and it's kind of started this big debate there. The whole reason he said it was specifically the Super Bowl. So he was just like, yeah, you want to win rings. That's the whole point of this whole thing, isn't it? Which you got to love if you're a Texan fan, by the way. You got to love it because that's what you want your second-year quarterback to be focused on, is that, not the individual stuff. He wants rings. And any quarterback who doesn't talk about rings is a moron, because think about it, the best quarterbacks are the guys who win rings. How many times you hear about Dan Marino being one of the best quarterbacks to play the game? He doesn't have a ring. And I think the people that didn't grow up watching him don't realize how freaking amazing he was, because he doesn't have the rings. Look at people that weren't that great, like Joe Namath. Well, I'm sorry if I'm going to upset some Jet fans here, but I don't care to a degree, because it's a Giants podcast. We're allowed to do that. Yeah. He won one Super Bowl.
Sold his soul for it too.
Sold his soul for it. The guy wasn't that great. He wasn't. I'm sorry. And then you got all this other players again that were great, like Philip Rivers. Philip Rivers is one of the best of his generation, but because he didn't win a ring, he's not talked about like that. So anyway, he said he would take the Eli Manning. And now you got people comparing everything numbers-wise between these two guys. You look at the record. Aaron Rodgers, for his career, he's still playing, obviously, so things will change. Probably not be as good a winning percentage because he's a Jet. 148, 75, and 1 on his career. Eli Manning, 117 and 117. Completion percentage, Aaron Rodgers, 65.3. Eli, 60.3. Touchdown to interception ratio, Aaron Rodgers is 475 touchdowns, 105 interceptions. Eli, 366 touchdowns, 244 interceptions. Passer ratings, Rodgers 103.6, Eli 84.1. Pro Bowls, Rodgers had 10, Eli had 4. Rodgers had 4 MVPs, 5 All-Pros. Eli had 0 on either one. But now you get to where the big thing is. Eli had 2 Super Bowls to Rodgers 1. He has 2 Super Bowl MVPs to Rodgers 1. There's another thing I'm going to look at this and point this out as well. I'm going to be very clear. This C.J. Stroud did not bring this up.
No.
I just want to be clear. I don't want to be putting words in that man's mouth.
What do you put in his mouth?
It was a cookie. Eli is highly respected amongst the NFL community. The Manning brothers as a whole were considered like NFL treasure, basically. But Eli is always thought of very highly by people within the NFL circles. Rodgers is not. So the key wording to me is the question, I hear overall what he said. They said, whose career would you rather have? They didn't say who's the better quarterback. Aaron Rodgers is clearly the better quarterback. I hate to say it. I really do. Eli Manning's right here behind me in this picture. I think very highly of him. I respect a lot of stuff for him here. I like the fact that he brought us 2 rings. You can't not, and he had such a horrible team around him. I don't blame him a lot of the stuff he did. As far as the record, as far as the interceptions, he was just trying to make something happen. We've talked about this before in the show.
Let's talk about the first 2 years he was with the team. People talking about getting rid of him because we didn't have a good line.
Oh, yeah.
They got beat up. They would start off 0-2 for the first couple of years, the first 3 years, right? And then look at his last couple of years when you had McAdoo as his head coach, and it was the debacle.
But again, I gotta think. Obviously, again, Eli won the second ring. Eli has the respect, though, of the league, and I think that's part of it for players as well. If you're a player and you know what goes on within NFL circles, again, Rodgers, he's had how many things? Like Rodgers, like right or wrong, Rodgers says one thing and people blow up on him because they don't like him.
Unless you're,
unless you're a Rodgers fan specifically.
Yeah, unless you're in the Wisconsin
like
area.
If you're in that 4% of the population, like he's disliked. He's thought of as a maniac. People didn't like that he lied about the vaccine, but whatever. I won't get into that thing. But people jumped on him like crazy for it. The whole like him going into a cave and doing mushrooms to decide if he still wanted to play and stuff like that.
Ayahuasca.
I mean, you got things like, here's a good one for you. Devontae Adams. We talked about this before in the show. When he went to the Raiders, it was later on.
He took less money.
It was rated on release. Yeah, he took less money to go to the Raiders to play with Carr than to stay with Rodgers. There's been a lot of rumors about that. You never hear a single teammate sticking up for Aaron Rodgers when they talk trash about him in the media. Think about that. Anybody talks trash about Eli, his players that played with him go after that person like you would not believe. Even Tiki, who's had his issues with Eli, I've seen him go after people for it. You don't hear anybody sticking up for Rodgers. So I don't think he's crazy for saying it. I really don't. Again, it's all in the wording. If he had said Eli's the better quarterback, then I'd be like, okay, I'm a Giants fan, but even I can't say that. But like I said, it's the question was, whose career would you rather have? If I'm him, I'm with him. I'd rather have the 2 rings. I'd rather be a hero in a city. I'd rather have a long career doing whatever the hell I want to do after football because everybody loves who I am. Everybody loves Eli. Even Cowboys fans talk about Eli. They say he's overrated, but they don't dislike him. Eagles fans, they joke around and flip him off and stuff like that, but they don't really hate him. He's not hateable. It's like he's our version for them of Kelsey. Like, we don't hate Kelsey. They're center that should retire there. Not the tight end. Talk about his brother, Jason.
Yeah, Jason Kelsey.
But
Batman, he's fantastic.
You can't hate this guy. The guy goes and gives presents to people at Dunkin' Donuts drive-thrus. He jokes around. He has fun. He seems to be a down-to-earth guy. Same as, we talked about this with the passing of Larry Allen. You can hate the team, but respect like a player on the team. There is a difference. And Kelsey's now retired, so we can talk about him in a positive way.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, he's a likable guy. Like, this is a guy you probably want to have a beer with. Eli goes into that 100%. Category where even if you didn't like the Giants, even if you were against the Giants.
Well, let's be clear though. I'd rather have like a beer or two with Eli and be cool and cordial. I would drink a keg with Kelsey.
A kegerator, like a little Heineken one.
He definitely seems like he can party.
Oh, yeah, he definitely does. But he feels like the guy who'd party but still be back and sobered up by 10 o'clock to put the kids to bed.
Yeah, he's like Frank the Tank. Yeah.
But I'm just saying, that's the guy Eli is. That's the guy that these young players should look up to. Not Rodgers. Not the guy who's, had his issues with the media, has his issues with teammates. Your legacy isn't just your stats, guys. It's not.
Correct.
And, again, I'm not trying to put those words in his mouth and say he's saying it. But I wouldn't be shocked if that's in the back of his mind. That it's not just the Super Bowls, it's the legacy you're leaving, the personality you have. And I like, I like CJ Stroud. We talked about him going to that draft saying he was the better quarterback, that the Panthers were stupid if they don't take him. Who cares about the one flick and all that stuff? But he seems to be on the right path. So kudos to him for thinking and knowing that Super Bowls matter over individual trophies. And probably somewhere in the back of his mind, even if he's not going to say it, he's probably thinking it a little bit, that he'd rather be the guy that's well-loved in the city and well-respected in the community.
And knowing that, maybe he can have his own job, doing whatever he's like. How much stuff does the Mann brothers do for the NFL overall? Like,
oh yeah,
each of them, like, they have like
he's
7
Emmy award-winning guy now and stuff like that. He's probably going to go in the Hall of Fame. I know it's going to be a little more discussion than Rodgers. Rodgers would probably be a full first ballot Hall of Fame, but Eli's probably going to go in. Maybe Rob and I will do a live show from Canton.
We're gonna go see Eli, guys.
let's get into some comments there, and then we'll call it a night here for you guys. Let's see. We got Jay, just Jay. I love the commentary podcast every other night. I'm gonna come.
Don't come.
Well, no.
Not come.
Let's see. John says, "Or damn ya," and then Jay says, "New York, I'm coming." John says, "It's pathetic though. We have two teams that play in New York, yet New Jersey, yet they're in New York. Always thought the New York, New Jersey Giants sounded cool." Listen, as a Jersey boy, I'll take a call on the Jersey Giants. I don't even correct people. I'll take it. But the thing is, their offices are in New York, was what I was always understanding.
Yes,
But
because both teams
no
also, yeah. That's why you have like Yankee Giants fans and you have Mets Jets fans, because they used to play in their old stadiums back in the heyday before, Giants Stadium.
Yes. And the Jets appropriately played in the landfill. Who said that? So John says, emphasizing the New York, New Jersey letters. He said, "Marino, what a loser." Listen, I'm telling you, John, because I know you were around for that. And I don't want to be like that old guy. Get off my lawn. These kids these days, but they don't know. I don't think how good Marino was, because you look at his stats; they're not that impressive compared to what's going on nowadays. But compare him to the rest of the quarterbacks in the '80s. And I want to see it like Babe Ruth level, where he was hitting 60 home runs and the next guy had 12. Like, it wasn't that crazy. But he was hitting 60 and the next guy was hitting 50. It was that different. And a consistent year in, year out basis. That was the kind of thing. Like, this is a guy hitting 40 touchdowns when guys in the top 5 are doing like 25. Like, that's how good Marino was. Yeah. He's a guy who changed the game. Him and Dan Fouts are probably the old school quarterbacks that really changed that game and made it more of a passing friendly league there.
Plus, he was also in Austin Powers. Oh, not Austin Powers, Ace Ventura.
Yeah. Like I said, that's where I'm at though. Let's see here. We got a lot of comments here. I don't go through them all here because we got a lot to go over. Except Jay says this conversation is saucy. Give him the sauce.
So
give him the sauce, Drew. All right, guys. Let's see here. John says Dan got labeled, or he would have been the Pittsburgh Steelers quarterback. He should have been. He played at Pittsburgh. They would have probably loved having him there. All right, guys, we're gonna call it a night here. So appreciate all you guys listening in. We'll be back again tomorrow night, though, guys. You don't have to wait too long for next dose of the Two Giant Goofballs. We'll be back again. Appreciate you guys listening in as always. Again, we are always live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter /X. I think they're just calling it X now. We're still saying Twitter /X. We're old. We still call it Twitter. Tweet.
Yeah.
And of course, as always, Rob's favorite.
Choose LinkedIn page.
Oh, yes. And as always, we're available the next day on all the podcasts as well for audio podcasts, the Spotify, Apple, iHeartRadio, Amazon, Google, all the fun ones there. If you haven't already, regardless if you're doing podcast or videos there, go ahead and give us a like, give us a share, tell a friend. If you do both, then do both. Like, share, both. Who cares? We're good for it. As long as you like, share, and everything like that. Don't be like John and hit the dislike. We're happy.
Yeah. Or Kelsey.
Right. Yeah. Appreciate you guys listening as always there. And as always, Giant fans.
Go G-Man!
Go G-Man! Go G-Man!
Thanks for listening to Two Giant Goofballs, a New York Giants podcast. We appreciate your support.
Thanks so much.